started the Owl House, and by started, I literally mean I just saw maybe the first 3 episodes so far and had to draw Ida right after. Don't worry, I'm slowly making my way through the series, but I just wanted to talk about Ida Clawthorne for a second. Because you can't tell me this character isn't based off of Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo. The minute I saw her, I was just like, yes, I can see the inspiration in this one. I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but according to the Owl House Wiki trivia section for Ida, it does say her design and personality are reminiscent of Ryoko. But the cooler aspect of Ida is that she's actually based off of the Mexican folklore legend La Lechuza, who is a witch by day, but an owl by night. Interesting. So, who should I draw next from the Owl House? Luz Nezeda is our main character of the Owl House, and as a Hispanic, I'm loving the Hispanic representation here. But one thing I really wanted to talk about with her is the events that happen in the very second episode, where she gets conned into believing that she's the chosen one of some grand prophecy, and it's her destiny to be here in the Boiling Isles. And honestly, I can't blame her for believing it. But Ida brings her back to reality by letting her know that everyone wants to believe they're chosen. But if we all waited around for a prophecy to make us special, we'd die waiting. And that's why you need to choose yourself. And it was at this moment that I really knew I'd like this show. Well, sort of. I pretty much fell in love with the show when the bad dude from episode 1 said his only weakness was dying. So who's next? I'm only a few episodes into the Owl House, and I really love so many of the characters I've seen so far. But if I was forced to choose my ultimate favorite, y'all, hands down, it's 100% King. This little dude is just the cutest, and I get so excited when he's on screen. I also love how Luz finds him to be the cutest too, but I do notice that while he does enjoy the attention, he seems to be at times kind of annoyed by it. Almost like Luz and Ida sort of don't take him seriously because of how adorable he is. And it makes me wonder if that's going to be a future plotline where he might get sick of it all and demand to be taken seriously. Obviously, I'm not sure, but I do love how Ida cares for him. Like how she goes against the warden in the first episode to get King's Burger Queen crown back, and how she said if it means that much to King, then it means a lot to her too. In episode 3, we meet Willow Park, and she's so sweet in my opinion. We also meet Amity, who comes along and starts teasing her, and it kind of made me a little frustrated with Amity at first, but I know a lot of you love her, so I didn't pass judgment too fast. But I definitely see why so many of you asked for Willow. I love that when we meet her, she's struggling with the magic she's tasked to perform, and it gives the viewer this feeling that maybe Willow isn't all that great at magic, since it's not really working out. Of course, Luz is there with the mischievous plan to help, but instead of thinking Willow just needs more time and practice, I realized that it doesn't seem to have to do with Willow being a less than spectacular witch, but rather the track she's on just isn't suited for her, because we see she's amazing at plant magic. So clearly she doesn't seem to be half a witch Willow. So who's next? Okay, I'm slowly working my way through the Owl House, and the first scene I see of Amity is kind of rude. And then in the next episode she's in, it didn't really get better. But I knew something had to give when it came to Amity. Surely the mean-spirited personality of hers is some sort of act, right? And then in the library episode, we finally get insight to Amity, the real Amity. And I'm pretty relieved. She's just young and seems to be really caught up in trying to be the best of the best. This also sort of explains why she was once good friends with Willow when they were kids, but once she got powers and Willow didn't, maybe Amity distanced herself because she thought Willow would be a distraction. Not saying that's right if that's the case, but Amity seems very driven and focused. I respect that. So who's next? Hootie's literally the funniest character in the Owl House so far for me, and I seriously need like 10 of them in my home. Okay, actually I take that back. They'd honestly probably drive me insane, but you all kept asking for Hootie, like a lot. And I was kind of surprised at first, probably because I get real nervous at the thought of drawing any other types of characters that aren't human, or at the very least humanoid. Doesn't mean I won't draw it, just means there's a likelihood that it's either gonna look terrifying, for example my version of Hop Pop from Amphibia, or just boring. For example, my take on most characters that I drew from the bad guys. And by boring, I don't mean terrible, but more like just drawing the character as is. And that's the route I took with Hootie. So who's next? I just feel like Gus from the Owl House should have more screen time because I love his enthusiasm. But he shines so much in the episode where he lies to Luz to secure his position as president of the Human Appreciation Society. He's also super into the human world, although I find it kind of interesting that he thought humans had gills, because technically that sounds like a mermaid and makes me wonder if mermaids don't exist in their world. Or maybe they do exist, and that's why it's confusing because they're basically humans with gills and a tail. But anyway, I'm also a huge fan about the fact that it seems like Gus has gone by Augustus his entire life, but then Luz comes in and nicknames him Gus, and it's completely life-changing for him. And then that's it. He's Gus from there on out. So who's next?